tribes
Willie Hitler?
of Israel.
What?
Willie Hitler. For real, this is what it reminds me of. Is when I learned about Willie Hitler. It's like the movie script I want to do most in that or Russ Meyer, but like the most in the world. But he's Hitler's nephew, who pissed off Hitler all the time because of his carousing and whatever, and he ended up defecting and whatever. It's like a really interesting story, but no one knows about Willie Hitler, the old scamp.
And
Joseph Stalin's
an ability to get a
must be granddaughter or something like that. Like lives in Wisconsin.
Sponsor, and she doesn't.
No way.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to go. She asked.
They changed their name.
I'd love to marry into that family.
Yeah.
All right, so the stream is live to YouTube.
Hey, everybody, put your headphones on. Gabe's talking to you.
What do you want?
I was merely just letting you know that the stream is live to YouTube, and we're going live to Facebook right now.
Oh, do it live.
Ready?
Yes.
I got a lot of positive feedback on my pre-show story about falling on stage in St. Louis. Evidently, that was all on there, and people they were amused.
On the audio podcast, it was on there?
No, it was on before we started, this part right here.
All right, I'm just gonna adjust the light, but then we'll go.
So is Tom Emmer calling in?
Hey, I asked.
You guys do not care for him if you asked him to come on this podcast after what just happened to him.
Well, here's what
he's going to come on and hang out with me?
I asked Amy.
You would
she,
be nice
she, she Amy'd it up.
No,
and
I
didn't ask
totally.
him.
Of course, I'd be nice to him, but it's your
doesn't
side
help
that's
him.
evil.
They're so
It's
evil.
not our side.
Fucking mean.
Save it for the show.
So you don't have a humiliation kick. Is that what you're telling me, Tom? This is not.
Yeah. No, Tom.
All right,
tell
guys,
you
I'm gonna
no,
start the
but-
commercial.
Tom conducted himself quite well.
Yeah,
very proud.
although, did you see the thing John Stiles sent us?
Yeah, what are you
That's
gonna do?
fucking fun.
What are you gonna do?
That's fun.
What are you gonna
I'm
do?
gonna make fun of it. That's what I'm
Yeah.
gonna do. This is. He also Trumpified his office in the last few days. Did you see that? He put up all these Trump posters.
Oh no.
Well, now he
Support
has
for
something
Wrong
to throw
About
darts
Everything
at.
comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial. Support for Wrong About Everything comes from Minnesota's credit unions. Credit unions are locally based, member-owned financial cooperatives that return earnings to members through higher savings rates, lower loan rates, and reduced fees. Visit mncun.org for more information.
And welcome back to another episode of the Wrong About Everything podcast. I am Democratic strategist, the Puerto Rican Heat, and still in the running for House Speaker.
Nope.
Javier Morillo.
I'm small business attorney Davis Sensman.
I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am conservative strategist and a biblical scholar compared to these three heathens, Brian McDaniel.
And we are
Wrong About Everything.
Especially
That
what
Jesus
is
had
contained
siblings.
within the Bible.
No.
This
You
is
quoted Wikipedia.
I looked at
No,
the
he
real
showed me the
Bible.
mark.
I
You didn't
found
give me
the
a
real-
verse.
We did not. We did not interpret
guys,
it the
this
same.
this is neither a biblical show.
Bible talk.
And also, it's weird to just start that way.
Well,
That's true.
just so you
Even if
know,
it's a word
it
to
is
come
weird.
up. So
I said that Jesus had
so-
brothers and sisters.
so
They
here's
said
the-
no, and I'm right. Of course I am.
So what's really going on, Democrats? Listen to me for a second. So you know how we've been having a lot of fun all week, laughing at how insane Republicans are.
Rallying
I thought you were worried about the country, Israel,
rallying
the
around the
budget.
extermination of
Yeah,
Jews.
yeah, real
Shockingly,
concerned.
our Republican colleagues don't want to talk about that.
I don't care.
No, we're
Talk
happy to
about
talk
it.
about it.
So Brian is grasping at straws. Talking
No,
about
no, I got no problem with it.
We should just feign your concern for the business of the nation.
Yeah, no.
Man, remember how we were laughing all week? I knew it.
Hey, Democrats.
You have to laugh. so
First of all,
don't
you were
cry.
on all the threads, so you knew I was laughing.
Democrats, remember how happy we were when all the polls were showing that we're going to lose to Trump? Because terrible.
listen, this country is in a bad shape.
Yeah, well, you shouldn't smile during it. I'm not smiling. Look at me. I'm sad.
We were not smiling. Republicans, remember when we were so serious and sad about the state of the nation and the business of America?
Yeah.
No.
Listen,
And we were
I
trying to
don't
find a
remember
speaker.
welcome to the Minnesota Credit Union Network studio, where we come every week. By the way, let me preview the Not a Dick Spank this week is going to be specially
Phrasing.
dickish. Because it's been a very long time since we've had
Since
a new
we've had
patron.
any
that's a
not
good
yet.
point.
Do you think that people just aren't listening, or they're
since
just
Mike
listening
Cox
for
Brown?
free?
That's the last one we had.
It was
Maybe
it
nobody
was
can
a
think of a good name.
showstopper.
It was
Maybe
the
they're
show.
like-
Everyone's like, we give up. We can't beat that one. I don't know.
I was really hoping they weren't going to have a
Can't beat what?
speaker yet, and I was going to be
Can't
able to
beat
say, "Oh,
Mike Cox
there's a
Brown.
new one in here."
Mike Cox Brown.
Can't
Yeah.
be what?
That was a good one.
So as always, we come to you every week to talk about the week's news. Hey, longtime listeners of the show, we're going to talk a little about Tom Emmer. Longtime listeners of the show might remember that Tom Emmer was once on this podcast.
Yeah.
We might re-release that episode if we can. Well, I found it, but we should
Right.
listen to the audio quality. That was a long time ago.
And it was
Well,
done
it
at the
was live.
At the
Maple
Maple-
League Bowl.
at the Maple League
So
Bowl.
the quality was probably. It's
Well,
always
it's the Maple League
whenever we
Bowl.
do
It was at
remotes,
Amy's-
the quality is
it was-
always
it's-
difficult.
This is when I still was not friends with Amy. We're friendly.
Yes.
But we went to her bar, which turned out to be the gay bar in town.
surprised.
It was pretty surprising that.
Was it, though?
No, it was very surprising.
Was
the,
it just
the woman
'cause-
who tried to keep gay people from being married
Not you.
turns out was running a gay bar in Maple Lake.
She was like, "If you get
Yeah, but
married,
then
no
that's-
one will
that's
come to
what
the bar."
You go, what is going on with her? Maybe she's not exactly
As
what
Michael
I thought
Jordan,
she was.
as Michael Jordan said, when people would say that he wasn't political enough, he's like, Republicans buy shoes too. Gays drink in Maple Lake.
Heck yeah.
Maybe she was worried that the bar sales would go down if
Yeah.
everyone was all coupled up at home.
No, this very lovely lesbian sidles up to me and she's like, "So how'd you guys know this was the gay bar?" I'm like, "Well, A, I didn't. B, I guess what
Do you
you're
know
telling
who
me is that
she
we're
is?
flaming out." Yes. We have lots to talk about, but first,
Yes.
if you get in any legal trouble, call the lawyers at Bradshaw & Bryant. Their entire team of attorneys and staff is dedicated to providing the legal advice you need, combined with the service and personal attention you deserve. If you have questions about how they can assist you with a personal injury, wrongful death, or criminal defense matter, do not hesitate to contact them. Consultations are free. You can call them at 800-770-7008 or at minnesotapersonalinjury.com. And as always, thanks Honey Hive Digital for our website and keeping it up. For folks listening to this podcast, our producer Gabe Noah runs a whole studio here. It's called they call themselves a conglomerate, which seems a little uppity to me, frankly. But I haven't seen the conglomerate part of all this yet. But maybe is there an annex somewhere else?
I was going to say, maybe it's under that pile of boxes
there-
upstairs that smells funny. I'm teasing.
Is
We
the
love
key-
the studio.
Yeah, no. Is there another building somewhere else that we're like with the nice,
No,
studios?
the TVs were on, and there's a really fancy logo.
You just never miss an opportunity to cut down Gabe, do you?
Correct.
Gabe likes it that way.
Oh yeah, this
Much like some of the previous,
thing. No.
yeah, much like some of the previous speaker candidates.
No, right. No, yeah, exactly. Gabe is straight, except for a little bit of abuse from me.
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. That's it. So, oh my God, you guys. So,
Yes.
can you believe the excitement yesterday in the Minnesota press corps, which like no one goes harder at a local angle than Minnesotans
They
and
don't.
Minnesota press. Like this was there, like everyone
That's
was
true.
just giddy with anticipation and just like it's
We have
just,
folks in D.C., which is reasonable.
But here's the thing: is like we got boastful, we got prideful,
And then this is what
And
happens.
this is what happens.
Sorry,
the universe came to smack everyone in the ass.
We were so excited for maybe the first speaker
Maybe.
from Minnesota. And then what we end up with? Just another leader from Louisiana. Louisiana's got two now.
Well, leader is stretching it. We'll get there.
Leaders. Leaders, two from
What?
Louisiana.
I mean, Mike Johnson, the guy who works at the Dairy Queen.
Yeah, Mike Johnson.
Mike
No,
Cox
not
Brown.
that Mike Johnson.
Not that Mike
The Mike
Johnson?
Johnson that ran for Minnesota governor.
No, that's Jeff.
That's
Remember
Jeff.
truck?
Truck. Oh, truck. Yeah, that's
Hashtag,
right.
hashtag truck.
Truck Johnson. That's right. That was Jeff Johnson's. Jeff Johnson told us his nickname in high
Growing
school.
up.
Was
Was
it?
great.
Growing up, yeah.
Was Truck for some
Truck,
reason
yeah.
because apparently when he was younger he was a lot bigger. I don't know. Like
Yeah, you don't
No,
know.
he drove a truck.
What?
yeah, but he
That's
was a
what it
very
was.
little dude
But
driving
like
a truck.
he was the only person they knew who drove a truck.
I don't know. It must have been a big truck. We didn't name.
You know
we
what,
didn't
though?
name him.
Hey,
we were just trying to distinguish him between all the other Jeff Johnsons
see.
Tying,
Yeah,
around.
tying
that's
things in, Jeff Johnson, I believe, is from Detroit Lakes, which is also where Gabe Noah spent a good portion of his growing up time.
Who cares about that?
Well, I'm going to ask Gabe. Maybe Gabe knew Truck
Who cares?
or knew of Truck.
Oh, perhaps.
you ever heard of Truck Johnson?
Who is he? Was he the guy that worked at the Buff and Glow? Car wash? No, not that.
He's
Jeff
the guy who got bullied.
I'd like,
No,
the,
this
I'd like
Mike
the record
Johnson.
to reflect that I went to the same church as Jeff Johnson. I worked for Jeff Johnson. I like Jeff Johnson very much. I'm kidding because I have so much personal affection for him.
That used to be the
And
for
on the
folks
show.
that used to listen long ago.
Okay, here's
That was
what-
the
okay. So the
that
start-
was Jeff Johnson was just such a generic name. We all knew a ton of Jeff Johnsons.
And we now we know what is this guy's name? Mike Johnson? Mike Johnson. Mike Johnson, yeah. But before that, let's first get. So I love the Star Tribune has a timeline of the Tom Emmer the speakership, and it's like 2 sentences long.
Oops.
He was so we had a very exciting balloting in the morning. We got to stretch this out because it was our only freaking local angle.
It was huge. It was
you were
national
up
and
in, you were
Well,
up in this business.
There's
weren't you,
that
Amy?
local angle
No, I
of
wasn't
of
up
the
in his
Minnesota
business.
congressperson who's challenging a sitting president, which is
We're
a
gonna
way
get
bigger
there.
deal than this.
No, that's not.
No,
a bigger
okay, so right, so I know I was in D.C. on Thursday for a meeting with
Tom Emmer.
Congressman Emmer
You messed
about,
this up,
about
didn't you?
actual Minnesota business,
Oh.
and then turned out I was just wandered into a hornet's nest, which was.
Were you in on the
so-
planning sessions?
No.
Did you make any calls for him?
All right. So what? So because on Thursday, what happened
She
after
totally
it was I think there'd been 2 votes for speaker as of Wednesday, right when we last had the podcast, when we last recorded the podcast, and who was his name? Jim Jordan had lost twice and had lost ground at the time.
The wrong way. He
Right.
was
He had
going
gone
the
the
wrong
wrong
way.
way. And the question was, is he going to go for a third ballot? Or he and McCarthy had floated this idea that maybe they could just have a motion to elect a speaker pro tem that would serve until January so they could have sort of more of a robust debate
like
about speaker.
speaker-ish.
Right. And they could still get business done.
Yes.
However, that was very unpopular, and frankly, I didn't like it either. And I just said, well, that doesn't spur them to have to actually elect a speaker and move along with the business. So that is what was happening
I
Thursday
still don't
when I
understand
was
what
there.
the difference is. Like, if you couldn't get the votes for one, why could you get it for that?
Well, because it was just a temp thing. It was just I know, stopgap. But anyway, they didn't have the votes for that, as it turns out. People
that
didn't
either.
like that. There was, in fact, Emmer and Scalise and other leadership released a statement that said, we don't support the speaker pro tem
We don't
idea.
have the
Let's keep moving forward.
gotta make
So Jim
congressional
Jordan voted,
approval and
got
we don't
another
have
vote
the
on the
votes.
floor, wherein he lost some additional votes, and it became very clear that Jim Jordan was not going to be the next speaker, who was the Trump selected
Yes.
person. Okay. So then Friday afternoon, this had all transpired. And then it came out that there were, I think at the time, 9 folks that had thrown their hat in the ring for speaker, including cue the Minnesota Press Corps and all Minnesotans, really. Tom Emmer, which was
Emmer.
obvious as Tom was the
Minnesota
number
Press
3.
Corps
He
was Dean
was the
Phillips.
whip. So you had McCarthy, Scalise, and then the third highest ranking is Tom Emmer. And let me tell you, he had a very nice Capitol office with a big wooden sign over it. Tom Emmer, Majority Whip.
Speaker Pro Tom.
Yeah, spoken pros.
And the whip counts the votes.
And the whip
That's his
counts
job.
the votes.
Whip
That's
the
right.
votes.
So then they had meetings over the weekend. They had an official meeting, I think, on Monday.
So give us the dirt. Give us the dirt.
Well, just only that. No, there was no dirt. They were just really trying to find someone that could get the votes. They needed 217. I will tell you that the idea that there would be, people kept saying, well, maybe there'll be a coalition. Maybe there'll be the Democrats will be, asked to throw in some votes. I will tell you that was like very not well received in Republican hallways. Like they were not interested in that at all. That was not going to happen. People were like, "Oh, I think they're going to need the Democrats," and I was like, "No, they're
Well, that's
never
why
going to
McCarthy got
ask the
fired partially because
right. It was a no.
How dare
it's
you?
A no. And so they went into the conference again, which is the private Republican caucus where they voted, but had already voted Scalise. They had already voted for Jim Jordan, and they voted for Tom Emmer, which was very exciting. And frankly, Tom makes a lot of sense.
Well, if
So,
you're looking for sense,
Right. But
So then
you know
what
who
happened?
wasn't looking for sense?
Your verb tense
Any
is
of
a
them.
little wrong.
Well, no. Former President Donald Trump.
Yep.
That's what happened. So he apparently had some conversations with Donald Trump over the weekend. Monday morning, it looked like Donald Trump was sort of like laying down. They asked him, well, he's not your biggest fan. Donald Trump said, well, he called me over the weekend and he's my biggest fan now. And it seemed that they had at least come to a like, we can work. Whatever, we can work together.
And there was also news that there was a reporter was tweeting that Matt Gaetz was behind the scenes helping Tom Emmer. And I was
Yes.
like, well, that's not,
Yes.
no,
And in
that's not a
fact,
good
he
sign.
did vote for him in
And
the
then
roll
stabbed
call
him-
vote.
and then immediately stabbed him in the back.
And then immediately turned. And so, I mean, listen, Donald Trump had a very bad day yesterday.
Yeah.
So, one, he didn't get Jim Jordan over the.
Why did he have
so
a
here's
bad
the
day
deal. Well,
yesterday?
are you kidding me?
because everybody's
Jenna,
flipping.
his lawyer.
Oh, yeah, that
confessed.
stuff. Oh, yeah.
And then Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff and closest confidant in the end days.
All right, has immunity.
Has
oh yeah, all that stuff. You know, the crime.
Remember that in Georgia? He is getting immunity, and frankly, his former attorney was like, I didn't know. I would have never gone for this deal. It was lawyers and
tears.
others that were telling me.
It's like she thought she was getting a part. Or
So
a
that all
speeding
happened
ticket.
yesterday afternoon, which I think gave Trump some. He put him in a bad mood, and he went after
He
Tom.
got
on
quaint-
his
he
truth
got
social.
cranky.
Well, and they're starting to run out of money. I mean, Donald Trump got fined another $10,000
today.
today, and
again
for
today.
for the gag
for making
order.
comments about the judge's.
Staff. Or
Clerk.
clerks.
How do they? Does anyone know how do you like when a judge finds like? Can they take it straight out of his account?
He has to pay it by next week, or else when you don't pay, you generally they
go to
take you
jail.
to jail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Take me to jail. But no, so he got fined $10,000. The lawyer fees for MyPillow executive Mike Lindell are extraordinarily high. So actually, Mike Lindell has now created a second company called Our Pillow, so that way he and Donald Trump have something to share when they're both in jail.
One thing about Tom Emmer that I love to hear,
Wow,
in
he was looking so expectantly.
I know, he was so excited
like
about that
He was
joke.
winding up.
Our Pillow.
It's like, wow, that was.
Brian Francisco.
Brian Francisco.
I like all his worst jokes.
Tom Emmer did ignore Mike Lindell,
I'm
according
sorry.
to Mike
Javier,
Lindell.
when you go down the slide, do you ever go, no, so true?
This is.
Is he having a stroke?
I think he might be stroke. I mean, this is the.
Hey.
You guys. The
running
Republican
out the
Party
clock.
being in shambles is serious. Listen to Bryant. Like, we should set up a GoFundMe. He's.
I
he's
forgot where we
melting down.
were in the timeline.
I think we were talking
Yeah, no,
about
I think
no,
that was-
So we were
no.
in the 4 hours in which Tom Emmer was the speaker
I
nominee.
thought we were talking about the 1991 Halloween snowstorm that's coming
Nope.
up.
No, we definitely were not doing that.
That's what I thought we were talking about.
Yeah.
So
I
he
had
was
such a
there for
great
4
t-shirt to
hours.
wear, and I
He had a meeting with his dozen 12 to 20 holdouts, and look, they're conferring, and he couldn't turn them because he
No.
was too moderate. They
Which
said.
is okay.
Yeah,
hilarious.
they're going after
So
Tom Emmer.
laughable.
Tom Emmer. Now here, close circuit to. Oh, look at all that snow, Javier.
Oh my
Coming
goodness! Is the
again.
blizzard starting
like
already?
The 1991
Can
blizzard.
we even get close to the feet of snow we had in '91?
This is super funny for an audio medium.
Well, there's
No,
snow
everyone's
blowing
watching on
across
video and they're seeing all the snow.
Yay, I'm gonna make
But no,
some changes.
Tom Emmer.
Donald Trump tweeted at 1:11 p.m. I have many wonderful friends wanting to be Speaker of the House, and some are truly great warriors. Rhino Tom Emmer, who I do not know well, is not one of them. He never respected the power, capital P, of a Trump endorsement, capital T, capital E. He writes like a German. Or the breadth and scope of MAGA, Make America Great Again. He fought me all the way and actually spent more time defending Ilhan Omar than he did.
Yeah.
Just totally. He's like,
Donald Trump is insane, and I want every single one of you people people to email me why he is not insane. So Tom Emmer is all of a sudden a rhino, which means Republican in name only. Tom freaking Emmer.
Ryan, settle down.
I don't
No,
want to.
it's insane.
Stop
it,
this
you
is
people.
insane,
Just
people.
here's what I would like these Republicans that are now
the
saying.
Republicans are not in the room, and our ears are.
They're all
Here's
listening.
what I would like for you Republicans that are going on Twitter to tell me about is that why do you think he's a rhino? Why? I would like you to explain. You don't know. Just admit that all you care about is whatever Donald Trump says.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. You don't actually investigate because I worked with Tom Emmer for many, many years. He was my house guy. He worked incredibly hard on keeping and voicing and keeping alive conservative principles. He worked to gain majorities in the Minnesota House. He ran for governor, and he took a lot of crap for running for governor statewide. And I don't think there's a Democrat out there that would say, "Oh, well, that moderate
That real
Tom Emmer."
moderate.
Not a
No.
single person. It is not believable, and yet Donald Trump goes on one day, types a bunch of nonsense about how Tom supports Ilhan Omar more than him, and you all eat it up. It's just it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And this is why, and Brian and I have talked about this. If you don't like what the Democrats did this last year with having the trifecta, just keep doing what you're doing because you are the reason that we
It's
keep
not Donald
losing.
Trump's fault. It's your fault.
It's your
your
fault.
fault.
So
you chose this path, people.
We could talk literally about the primary this last year, the Ilhan Omar and Don Samuels, that Don Samuels very narrowly lost, and folks that ran in a Republican primary, we could go and actually supported Ilhan, if you would like Republicans that did that. But I'm not going to go there because it doesn't help to keep slinging mud at each other. Get your act together. And so we have Mike Johnson. The new speaker is Mike Johnson, apparently a congressman from Louisiana.
Let's sit on this a bit because I think here's the thing how rhino has become defined in your party right now. And this is a million. This.
All
this
it means is you don't
is,
worship at the altar of Trump.
Yeah.
That's it.
But also so Tom Emmer for those who are maybe newer to Minnesota politics or don't remember this far back. So he was a firebrand in the Minnesota House. He ran as a very, very hard right for governor. After governor, he replaced Michelle Bachmann in Congress. And in Congress, he actually he was new to Congress when we did the show with him at the Maple Lake Bowl. And he was the only Republican congressman to attend the 50th anniversary of the Selma March. He was the only Republican, and we interviewed him about that. And I hope we do re-release the episode. We hope we can do that
hope
because
so. It was a
you
live
should
event,
listen
so
to him talking about it. It was actually really beautiful and moving. I teared up listening to him talk about it. But here's what happened: that then Trump comes along, and Tom had tried to have it both ways, and in this last week he tried to have it both ways, and there's no having it both ways when it comes to Trump and Trumpism. As this is it's not good enough to be right on most issues. It's not good. You have to actually be obsequious and kick his and kiss his ass. And in this case, it doesn't even matter because you can't make a deal. Even if you make a deal with people, which I cannot imagine that the Tom Emmer who was at the Maple Lake Bowl didn't go into that thinking that he had made enough deals. He's not an idiot.
Well,
Right.
well, no,
He's not an
he
idiot,
really is a work with people.
Yes.
He works really hard. That's why he's always just sort of ended up in leadership. He never has a plan to be that's what I also love about Tom. He never goes at this I'm going to run for state house, and then I'm going to run for governor, and then I'm going to run for Congress, and then I'm going to be the whip. It's never his thing. Every time I've seen him run for higher office, it's always been literally, really people asking him to run. Tom, you're the obvious person for this. Please run. And it's not what he's thinking about. He doesn't sit there with an agenda. That's what makes him such a public servant and such a strong leader, is because he's not making a plan for this. He's never sets out to do this. But when he's asked to step into leadership, he does.
But this is and I think this is and so he took the votes they pointed to was that he voted to, along with many Republicans, voted to codify into law the
same-sex marriage.
By the way,
but
Donald
specifically
Trump,
the decision about
interracial and
sorry.
Decision about what?
I was making hand gestures that started to look obscene, which is not what I meant. It's, the Supreme Court decision about the benefits part. It was it's not actually.
It's like Social Security and
they didn't pass. Like it was basically saying like it was.
And by the way, Donald Trump supported that. Has come out publicly supporting that.
Yeah, it's
so if Tom's rolling over because of that.
Well, 71% plus of Americans support that.
Exactly.
So it's like Republicans. If you're about to embrace someone like Mike Johnson, who has written articles about how gay sex is going to end democracy.
Well, it makes God send hurricanes.
when he literally voted to end democracy, like this is insane. You're shooting yourself.
But even so Donald Trump. So then you apply that same principle. Then you don't support Donald Trump.
Right. No,
ask them. Of course they support Donald Trump every single time. That's why they're writing what they're writing.
But this is what it's like to be in today's Republican Party. So
it's not about principles.
The New York Times writing about today about Speaker Johnson rising to the speakership says, while introducing Speaker Johnson at the news conference, Representative Tom Emmer, who was dumped from his speakership bid by the hard right on Tuesday, called the bitter process Republicans just went through over the past 3 weeks open, honest, transparent, and a true display of what democracy looks like in action.
But
from an outside point of view, these last few weeks probably look like total chaos, confusion, thrown in sight. But from my perspective, this is one of the greatest experiences of the recent history of our republic. Like, apparently he does have a kink shame. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yesterday I thought he didn't, but why? Maybe he does.
But why are you afraid of the process? This shows the process worked.
It didn't really work though, because if
it didn't work the way you want it or the way I wanted it, but that doesn't mean it didn't work. It was open. We knew what was happening.
I knew every
what
minute
he's saying
that was
is not wrong.
Right.
It just came to a shitty outcome. It was a shitty outcome.
But he doesn't have to go out of his way to say.
No, he doesn't. But he's a team guy.
Right? No, you're right.
Well,
because he just got disciplined into either kiss the MAGA asses or you're out of here.
A Democrat would do the exact same thing. When you're in a caucus like that, you still have to work with.
He had that option: kiss the MAGA ass or get out of here. And he said, "I'm not going to do it."
The difference being that your party, the choice is between crazy authoritarianism and democracy. And Tom Emmer was a normie enough. Not like normie enough that that's literally the dividing line was that he voted to certify the election. So, and if the listeners can think back to January 6th, when these crazy people stormed the Capitol, and then after the representatives were threatened and the vice president was threatened with murder, and after they finally ran all the freaks out, when they reconvened, there were still a majority of the Republicans voted against certifying the election. Not actually, I don't think it was a majority, but a lot of them. But Tom Emmer was among the people who voted to certify the election, and that was the thing that so now we have a speaker of the House who believes in a national ban on abortion, who wants to outlaw gay marriage, who was not just an election denier, but actually helped organize.
He wrote the amicus brief.
He wrote the amicus brief for Texas.
Well, and he
which is part of part of the whole conspiracy.
It's 1 out of 50. Yeah. That's a pretty small amount.
That's part of the whole damn conspiracy was to send in fake electors, and that's what and he was working to for the legal rationale for the batshit crazy theory that somehow Mike Pence could just himself unilaterally decide the election on his own.
The Republican part.
That's that guy. That's Mike Johnson, not the guy at the Dairy Queen. It's Mike Johnson,
not Truck,
Speaker of.
No, Republicans made an embarrassing decision, and this is not a good speaker. It just shows how beholden they are to the non-elected. I mean, Donald Trump is not a rhino, because to be a rhino, you have to be a Republican.
Right.
Donald Trump is not a Republican.
That's right.
And everyone, email me, text me, call me if you want. I'm not going to answer, but go ahead, try it. Prove to me. Say why you think that Republicans have a better shot going into the next election now than before. Why you think that Mike Johnson is a better choice than Tom Emmer. And I don't want this for Tom. We've talked about it. I don't think this is a good move for Tom, for his long-term prospects. So I think Tom equated himself wonderfully and has set himself up for bigger and better things someday, because now when someone comes after him saying, you Trump apologist, and he's going to wave in the air, look, this is what Trump said about me. You look at all the things I did that
let's
like.
Let's
Mike
talk a little bit about Mike
Johnson.
Johnson. Yeah.
He went on the air and said that Dominion voting systems came from Hugo Chavez in Venezuela.
Yeah, he has that in common with crazy
Yes.
Sydney, who just pled guilty.
And it's
for
interesting
saying precisely
because
things like that.
Because Adam Kinzinger,
Sidney
who
Powell.
the Republicans ran out of,
Powell, yeah.
who the Republicans ran out of Congress because he actually tried to govern and was willing to say, "Hey, Donald Trump is a criminal." Adam Kinzinger talked about Mike Johnson and said he was kind of a normal guy because they were in the same freshman class.
Right.
He was kind of a
they said
normal
he's kind
guy,
of quiet.
but
yep.
then he went full MAGA because he knew that's what he had to do to get reelected.
And
Well,
let's
he
just-
got him to be
Look.
speaker.
Yeah.
And
Good for him.
let's just say on the air what the queers talk about off the air, which is, and Davis and I are putting money on this. This dude is a little too obsessed with the
Oh,
gays.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
also a little too pretty.
So here's what I think will
I'm
be
just saying.
interesting.
Just saying, watch my words. I'm putting some money on this.
Is what will happen with the caucus moving forward, because you still have the issue.
Well,
of,
it's
Government's
ruled
gonna shut
by
down.
the
right. Okay,
in a few
right.
weeks.
How do you? So the government, the budget is still coming, right?
Right.
They kicked it for 45 days. Frankly, from a political perspective, Donald Trump and a government shutdown, would probably politically be something that he would like to see,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
So,
They'd
so
love
the
for the
question will
country to go to
be like,
chaos,
what
yeah.
kind of pressure will be applied on that, and can there come to any kind of solution on the budget, or will the government shut down? Funding when it comes to Israel, Ukraine. Do you put sort of like foreign aid all together? Do you pass each of those separately? Do you not pass each of those separately? I think there's arguments to be made for like bundling a package together or not and letting it run. There's a lot of tests coming up immediately for the new speaker. And frankly, because he's not in a position of leadership, like they were just talking about, like logistically, there's a huge job for him just to
Yeah,
get things
learn.
set up. Right, to learn. He goes from being sort of not a backbencher, but a very much a mid-bencher, to the highest, third highest office in the land, with 100 staff that he's got to find and hire, moving to this massive office, like taking over all the sort of trappings and the work that has to come from the speaker's office. I'm sure he'll get some help, but like that alone is going to be a big move. And then he's got all of these really big challenges facing him. So I don't envy him. I think it's going to be a tough job. I hope he's up for the task, because we really need him to be.
And so we have, like, with these issues coming, those were the sort of dividing lines there, right? So what we have to look forward in just a few weeks, we'll have like the budget vote coming up. It is actually a little. It's a terrifying. This is probably, I think, one of the worst case scenarios to come out of this, because this is someone who's like 100% beholden to that right. I would like to know just what you were asking earlier, Davis. Like, what the hell happened to the moderates who were voting against? Like, so you.
Well, it doesn't make sense because, they held the line against Jim Jordan. They held the line. But now they have to go back. I mean, there's, 13 of them, I think, that are in districts where they won, but Joe Biden won, sometimes by a lot, over Trump. And so they have to go back and tell their constituents, well, I held the line with Jim Jordan, but I gave in to this guy?
Yeah.
Like this, at least Jim Jordan had no record because he literally never passed a bill. Like this dude has a very...
We'll see what you guys could do with it politically. It could be an issue, but I will also say, when it comes to sort of inside baseball stuff like this, most people...
Well, you
they
guys
certainly
talked about
don't vote
Nancy
on that.
Pelosi
Yeah.
in swing districts for years.
years and years.
You
Sure.
tied Angie Craig to Nancy Pelosi. You tied, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't.
Sometimes
but
sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
This reminds me-
But sometimes those like inter-party votes too, people are just like,
Oh yeah, no, that's
it's very inside baseball. This vote
reminds
for
me of an
speaker.
expression in Spanish. Vamos como las moscas de flor en flor para acabar en una plasta de mierda.
Yes,
Which means the Republican Party was like a fly flying from flower to flower, only to end up in a pile of shit.
yes, that's a good one.
I don't
Well,
think I
we
said
shall
that
see.
right.
That's a
What?
good
I don't
one.
think you said that right.
Really?
We're just glad it landed.
We'll see.
Buzz. I'm just glad. And here's the other thing that is annoying to me is that the other thing I'm seeing just from my friend Tom Emmer is a lot of vitriol and ugliness and like spiking the ball by so-called, so I'm going to call you rhinos.
Yeah.
By a bunch of rhinos out on Twitter that are spiking the ball about Tom. And what I would just say to you is like, you know what? Like Jim Jordan wasn't my guy, but I wasn't going to spike the football when he lost. And I didn't spike the football.
Right.
And the same thing with Mike Johnson. I don't know Mike Johnson. I don't know what's going to happen with Mike Johnson.
Sure you do.
But I'm not, but I'm not like going to glory in his defeat. I'm going to, because I'm an actual Republican who cares about actual conservative principles, I'm going to try to support the team, even if somebody agrees with me 80% of the time. That for me is like that's better than, Ilhan Omar or supporting someone that doesn't
Here's
doesn't
my
go
question.
with me.
So the one
90% of the time.
motion to vacate remains, correct?
Yeah.
That rule
Yes,
is still
I think
there.
all the rules
So-
that were problematic for McCarthy
so
remain in
eventually,
place.
eventually Johnson is going to have to make some type of compromise because you guys only have one of the three branches you need to get anything done. And the minute he makes a compromise, those 9 or 7 or 4, however many there are, why is the same thing not going to just happen to him?
Because he's not going to make a compromise.
So we're just going to have a shutdown government forever.
Yeah.
All right.
As long as they think that they can stand it till something happens. But there's nothing that tells me that the people who are behind this, they want to keep government ineffective.
Yeah.
They think it helps Donald Trump. And 2, they think that, well, eventually everyone's going to be so starved for a budget that they're going to agree to our stuff, which I guess could happen. Maybe it'll happen. But I find that hard to believe.
What I don't understand is why he's one of them. Why all these Republicans, like, where is someone asking these Republicans who are like, we shouldn't send any more money to Ukraine? Where is anyone saying, then how do we stop fascism from marching across Europe?
They don't care.
I mean, that's the thing. Like some reporter asked this question, like, okay, if we don't send any help to Ukraine, then what?
Mm-hmm.
Then they capture Ukraine. Then what happens next? Then what happens next? Like,
We keep appeasing them.
yeah, it's just like
Worked
because
super well in
appeasement
the
worked
past.
so
Yeah.
well in the past
yeah,
in Europe.
diplomacy.
Again, please look at your history books.
Yeah. I mean, it's wild.
And certainly Putin is to be trusted.
All right,
Well,
now
again,
we can
Please,
move
we
on
can just
to
go
a,
on. Anyway,
to a
sorry,
Democrat
just
idiot.
Democratic.
I don't know. I kind of like this story.
Yeah,
Of course you do.
Well,
we're flipping the tables now.
It's interesting, unlike
mean-
the speaker stuff.
Yes, yeah.
Well,
It's-
first of
it's
all,
irrelevant, unlike the speaker stuff.
my thing is, if you're gonna make maybe
so Dean
have
Phillips
your
is
bus,
announcing to
right,
Friday
but
that
here's
he's
the
going to run for
problem.
governor.
Maybe have your bus wrapped in the place where you're gonna do your big announcement, and don't drive it across the country through Ohio.
That was weird.
You
okay,
idiot.
So,
And there's nothing about the if there was any
Doesn't make
doubt
any
left
sense.
that this man is not dealing with a full deck right now. Right. It's the fact that they drive the wrapped bus.
Yeah.
Before he's made an announcement. Right. So he's and then
Maybe it's intentional to cause
Janice
buzz.
Shortle asks about it. He says that's a great looking bus. Right. Whatever. Let's just look at the math on
Yeah.
this. Right. He has. I think the deadline is this Friday.
Yep.
To file in New Hampshire.
right, because
It
he
is
can't.
so
he can't
much
even.
work.
He's already late for some
For the
stuff.
listeners,
It
we should
is so
stop
much
saying
work
he.
to
We should
file
lay
Dean
out what
Phillips,
we're actually
to
talking
file
Dean
or
Phillips.
Phillips. Dean
CD3.
Phillips.
Dean Phillips (parentheses)
President.
not Dem,
CD3.
not D.
Is it is extremely hard to qualify for the ballot without a party behind you. That's why even established third parties have a hard time
Yes.
qualifying in all states. Most of them do not. Like the Greens will field candidates and they don't necessarily qualify.
Read
in
your
every
Evan
state.
McMullen history.
Yes.
Yeah. So, this is just so exceptionally dumb and just so clearly a vanity thing. But I don't even know what that I want to know who is giving this man.
I don't
any
think anyone
money.
is. I think it's him.
I
think it's-
have heard
didn't
that
use
he's
his own
got
money
a
for his
lot of
congressional
money.
races.
I heard from someone yesterday. They will remain nameless because they are just a citizen. But well,
Yeah, that
they're
he
not
has a
just
lot of
citizen,
money?
Former
Yeah, we all
DFL
knew that.
candidate. I will say that.
Yeah, we all knew
And-
that he had a lot of money.
And no, they said that he's raised a good amount.
I'm sure he has because that money is not going to matter when people are like, who the shit is Dean Phillips?
Well, that's maybe why they drive the bus around a little bit.
Like he has less than one, and he's using "Make America Affordable Again." Way to be like, hey, that's a really great slogan you had there.
Well, but here, tell this to me, and I talked to a prominent DFLer about this today. So, "Make America Affordable Again," which is the Dean Phillips slogan on his bus.
Well, maybe that's his bus.
Well, maybe it's his bus.
Maybe he
But-
might be a different
Maybe
Dean
it's
Phillips.
Jimmy. It's Jimmy Dean. It's a sausage thing. But "Make America Affordable Again," that's not saying that Joe Biden is too old to be president.
No, exactly.
No.
He's actually
That's
been
a
an actual
different.
dick.
Yeah.
What this is saying the policies are too far left, and this reeks to me as a third party.
Of course, he will run third party if he wants, because Dean Phillips,
we've been
as I
saying
said
all
last
along.
week, will never be affected
Now-
by anything that happens
now,
under
Dean
Donald
Phillips-
Trump
Dean Phillips
presidency.
was on the show.
It's actually choice.
He was-
make America
Dean's
affordable.
always
Friend of the podcast.
Dean's always
to who, Dean?
Dean's
Friend of the
always going to
podcast,
be
Dean
able to
Phillips.
fly anyone he knocks up somewhere where they can get an abortion,
Former
and so
friend
it's
of the
not going to
podcast.
matter. It's not going to matter to Dean.
Right.
Dean didn't even live in his district when he
here's the
ran in
deal.
his district. Like anything Dean has ever done has been because Dean wants to do it. It's not because it's good for people.
So I understand the Biden play because it worked in 2020. But I believe the calculation is very different. And tell me how I'm wrong. That I don't think that a bunch of people go and say, I'm not voting for Biden, I'm voting for Trump. I don't think those voters are really existing. However, in 2016, Donald Trump didn't so much win as Hillary lost in very key states, and including Minnesota, where he came within 1 point.
Well, she didn't go there. She never went to Wisconsin. She never went
Right.
to
But where he didn't outperform in Minnesota. Donald Trump got within 1 point, which
No.
is the closest a presidential candidate has gotten ever. I mean, Reagan didn't get that close. And when I looked at the numbers in 2018 from 2016, because I was running a statewide race, and I really wanted to know, where do we need to pick up? Where did Donald Trump do so amazingly with? He really didn't do much better than Mitt Romney in this state. In fact, he shuffled like from the suburbs to greater Minnesota, but there wasn't a lot of money. What happened is Hillary did much, much worse than Obama. Yeah. Now, that didn't happen. Biden was able to turn out the vote in 2020. But if he is infirm, if he is, and he has clearly deteriorated in the last 4 years.
So has Trump.
Right, agree, but that isn't, it isn't as,
But here's
not
the
as
thing.
focused.
Right now.
I'm just saying, like, he could. I think that people said he's going to do 4 years. It's going to be a quiet 4 years. We're really sick of all this noise, and we're really sick of all this Donald Trump stuff, and we're going to vote for Biden because he's going to do 4 years. Now he's come back for another 4 years, and I think it stretches the possibility. And I think that the polls are showing over and over that people are not good with Biden. So. What is wrong with questioning?
Dean Phillips isn't going to win.
Have somebody else,
and all he's going to do. If
okay,
he's
Dean,
gonna
but
run
what about somebody else?
But if somebody else is fine, but nobody else wanted to. Like Dean needs to realize nobody else wanted to, because there are bigger machines at work here, Dean, than you, making decisions and figuring things out and saying, "Hey, it's not going to work. Somebody else isn't going to work."
Like, and to be clear, like, I would not support Dean Phillips for president.
No. He's
even if
too
he'd had
far
this
right.
Conversation 3 years ago, when it would have made sense,
right?
Like he's just
it's not him.
He's not someone I would ever support for president. He was a fine person for CD3 when it was turning from red to blue. It is now blue. Goodbye. I'm good.
Even for CD3.
Here's what I'd say. I mean, we've had private and public conversations about this. I don't get the strategy for Dean Phillips for this. However, and this is different, obviously, because the sitting Democrat president. But who was Barack Obama? No one knew who that was. Who was Bill Clinton? So it's not like somebody couldn't catch fire. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, Dean Phillips was on the show.
The date. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, yes, in theory. But Barack Obama was a state senator who became a U.S. senator and who started a campaign.
Who spoke at a convention. Like, no one. The problem is Dean Phillips. It wasn't from the outside. It appears he wasn't getting what he wanted fast enough, so he was like, "Fuck you guys, I'll go do it myself."
It seems like a vanity project.
I admit that I don't understand.
I don't understand
and the people of CD3, a lot of them are pissed.
I agree with you on that too.
And I don't blame them.
But I don't dislike Dean Phillips. Dean Phillips was on the show. He was probably on our best episode, my favorite episode, which is 2 weeks after January 6th. It was very powerful.
My favorite was 2 weeks before when Brian had to admit that I was right.
I'm glad you remember the date.
Kind of,
Oh, yeah, it was January 6th.
kind of like me. With you guys have to admit that I knew the Bible better than you. But no.
No, I found an article that explained it all.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Everyone's right.
Back to Dean Phillips.
But anyway, so Dean Phillips, and much of what Dean Phillips has said about Joe Biden, I think, was politically courageous. However,
Now he's got a
this
different slogan.
seems to kind of have gone beyond that in a way that, I mean, I don't talk to Dean Phillips. I don't know people that are close to Dean Phillips other than who's in this room or whatever. When I see Dean Phillips at the Capitol, he says hi to me. He knows who I am. That's great. But I don't understand the leap that he took from criticizing the sitting president for being too old to deciding, screw it, I'm going to do it myself.
Well, and I think maybe 2 months ago it was like, okay, the president's not that, but I mean, even Republicans, not the ones who decided who the speaker would be, but there are some Republicans who have admitted, hey, Joe Biden's handling this Middle East thing pretty well. We don't have a lot of arguments with it.
I think he's handling it pretty well.
Right. And so I want to say to Dean Phillips, okay, now he's handling an international crisis well. You've got a lunatic who nobody knows, who's second in line to be the president. You still think this is a good idea? You still think it's all about you?
Can we talk a little bit about the fallout, the political fallout? Because I am curious about this. So he is a current congressman from CD3,
Yep.
which used to be a red. Until he came along, it used to be pink. Has become, I think, light blue. Right, I think it's
Republicans.
and so it's the suburbans, like it's western suburbs, right? It's Minnetonka, Wayzata, Edina. I think those are all in there. So he's actually a perfect match for that. But it's not a guaranteed lock seat, but it has been for the last couple cycles.
He
has to run again.
I think post Trump that area.
It's become
that's
almost
true.
untenable
Yeah.
to Republicans, which is shame on us. But okay, so he has to run for his seat next year.
Yeah.
So can he? So my question is, does he have to? Do we have what? Because this will start a domino, right? Because there's a lot of very prominent DFLers and frankly Republicans in CD3 that would be eyeing the seat. When or does he have to drop, or can he run for
Well, when
Congress
we had
simultaneously?
all those people running in the Republican Democratic primaries, did they? I can't think of who. I'm trying to think of an
who
example
was
of a
seated.
congressperson that was also running.
I think they tend to run and then they
Let's think about it, because right now there's not a single Republican running. Oh no, Ted Cruz was a seated senator.
Yeah, he was a senator though, and maybe his things
But
didn't
his
line
thing
up.
wasn't
and
up, right? I'm
Amy's
thinking
didn't
about a
line up.
congressman that's
same with
up.
Amy.
Yeah.
No, I don't
because Rubio
think so.
was a senator.
And the thing is,
Rubio
like,
was a
I think
senator.
sometimes it has happened, like in Minnesota, where someone is running for a statewide office and they are a state legislator, and then the Democrats in their district will hold off on endorsing until after the state endorsing convention,
Yes.
to see if they get it. Then if they so that if they don't, like that, it's basically a courtesy done to them. I don't think there's any goodwill toward Dean Phillips for doing.
In
that,
most
any kind of
states, a
courtesy.
candidate for the presidency cannot simultaneously seek election or re-election to congressional office. 5 states: New Jersey, Massachusetts, Ohio, West Virginia, and Hawaii.
So there's
permit
nothing saying he
simultaneous
can't, but I'm
bids.
saying like
It's a good
just
thing
on
to
a
I don't think he can.
timeline.
I don't
it's-
think he can.
So let's talk about the people who are rumored to jump in. Kelly.
Senator
Kelly Morrison is a
Senator Kelly
state
Morrison,
senator,
state senator.
has been rocketing to the top. Right, was a state house, just ran from the House was in the House a year ago.
Yeah.
I think that was either her first term,
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
maybe
I
I
think
think it was her
so,
first
yeah.
term. Then she ran for it was actually with redistricting.
And Ann Johnson.
And
She beat out
Johnson
Ann
Stewart, she kind of
Johnson.
squared off and won the Senate seat. So she's been there a year.
Yeah.
And as a name that comes up when you talk about this.
And she has she grew up with Dean Phillips or
I
something.
think so. Or went to school together. So there's some personal, but definitely a strong candidate.
What?
Republicans last time around had a fairly decent candidate. I don't know if that person is talking about running again or not.
Well, that was Paul Anderson's seat. largely it was I mean, because remember, Paul Anderson didn't run for that seat.
I wasn't talking about
You were
Kelly Morrison.
talking about-
Sorry, I'm talking about Congress for the CD3.
So the other person,
Who
the
else
other
are we
people I've
hearing?
heard rumored. So
One's declared.
One is declared. Ron
Harris.
I've heard that Steve Simon is
Contemplating.
contemplating
I've heard
it.
that as well.
I would think that Steve would be the favorite, and I
As long as
and
nobody
probably-
screws up the Secretary of State office.
That's true.
I spend a lot of time on that website.
Yeah.
Just
So,
please leave it
potential
alone.
Secretary of State office.
Yeah, I mean that would be a
candidates, just
power.
know
I mean, Steve
that-
Simon did the best of any statewide candidate.
Yeah.
So if you're talking
Yeah.
about I think it was just a point over the governor, but still outperformed even the governor on the statewide ballot. So that's a strong argument to be made.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to let DFL candidates for Secretary of State know that to get Davis Sensiman's vote,
It's just
what
a
you
one
need to
thing.
do is just don't touch the website. It's
Just
fine.
leave the business section. You
working.
can do whatever you want with the elections portions.
Yeah,
I
we
don't-
know you
I
guys don't care about elections.
Yeah, we care
It
about
can't be made,
running them well,
but the
which we
elections
do.
parts
We have
can't
done
be
for
made better
decades.
than what Steve did because I feel like he's just so fine, with a little pen, nope, change this.
Okay, so there could be some pretty big shakeup there.
Yeah.
Big,
Well, and
big
if-
primary.
I
if
think at this
Senator
point
Morrison,
there's gonna be.
I think
if
there
Senator
has to be.
Morrison runs, and if she
Well, this is the
wins, the Minnesota Senate has a DFL majority of one vote, which means that then for a period of time, from when she wins to when they can, if she wins.
I hope she's listening. She's like, when I win.
No, but in the scenario,
Yeah.
she would have to
Right.
win.
Right.
So from when she wins to when they can do a special election,
They'd be dead
Yeah.
even.
there it would be
That's why it's
even, which is a big deal.
And
Run,
also
Steve,
that
run.
district
Run,
is
Steve,
not
run, Steve, run.
as deeply blue as
no,
folks. It's not
that part of the
Yeah,
congressional
no.
district.
That was a very traditional Republican seat until much more
before-
recently.
yeah.
It's a traditional Republican seat for a kind of Republican that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
They're
But-
No,
longer
they're
around
there.
status.
There's
Andrew Myers
13
is the other side of
But
our
if the Republicans could run the right candidate,
He's
and
exactly
if the Democrats
that's not
ran the
gonna
wrong
happen.
one,
True.
they could
Andrew
win.
Myers
Sure, yeah.
exists on the one half of her district.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not going to
A
happen.
Republican.
Most likely not, but it could. I mean, if you guys want to risk that,
I'll be
fine.
going to a
do
fundraiser for
it. Name that tune.
No,
No,
we'll
I
have
mean
Steve
we don't
Simon,
care.
you
We're
guys
just
will
saying
have
like
some
there's
MAGA.
fallout.
Yeah,
there's
it's a
potential,
domino
like,
effect of different.
And
yeah.
that's what we talk about in here, right? Isn't that why sometimes people listen? Like, what could happen?
Yes.
What little tumblers will start clicking?
Yes.
and that's a tumbler that could click.
But
Or at
Steve
least has to
Simon
be-
getting in, I think, keeps other people out.
I would
Yes,
think so.
I would
And
think
some
so.
people have said that to me, and
That's why-
I'm not going to talk about
That's
it.
why
here.
I'm saying this far and wide. Run, Steve, run. Run, Steve, run.
Steve, please leave someone good in charge of the
also
website.
that.
David's
also that
not
part.
on
It's
Run,
just-
Steve,
I mean,
Run.
I don't care myself. I don't do any
I mean,
of it.
I
but
love
it's very
Steve
important to
Simon, but I'm
Davis.
very worried.
But in that scenario, Secretary of State, big statewide race, it will be a special
Oh,
election,
yeah.
I assume, right? I don't even know the
how does that
constitutional.
happen? I don't know.
I don't
That's a
know.
good question.
I don't know if we've ever had a Secretary of not anyway in our lives.
Can I get appointed?
Because
Does
then
does
if
the
he won,
assistant
he would
secretary of state
definitely
get to be. Do they just bump one?
leave
up?
a vacancy
so.
in a
That's not
constitutional
elected.
office, which would have to be filled eventually by
Maybe
a
we could get you
election.
appointed.
No, I don't want to do
I
it.
don't know.
I just
No,
want
no, no,
someone
no.
good to do it.
You could keep the website running.
And would
Absolutely
Steve
not.
Simon have to
Steve
give up
Simon
his,
gets a lot of
One
shit.
conversation at a time.
Would Steve Simon have to give up the Secretary
Right.
of State office
In order
to
to
run?
run.
no, not to run. Because
Well,
it's-
'cause he's not
Because
up,
it's sort of a
right?
free pass because
Yeah,
he just
Because he's not up.
He's
Because
not up.
okay.
But he can
do whatever he
manipulate
But then when he
the results.
yeah, he'll be like, "Oh, guys, look at this,
Well,
99%."
He's the
for me."
Secretary of State. All those machines he keeps in his garage.
So he's running his own election, although he already does that.
Yeah.
yeah. Which is maybe why he
All
got the
those
highest vote
election
total.
machines.
All right, we're
Hey,
gonna
he
move
somehow
on.
outperformed Walls. Somebody should look into that. It's DFL
All right,
question.
we're gonna
Okay.
move on. We're gonna move on. But first, I need to have a little talk with our listeners.
Uh-oh.
Listen,
Oh
people.
no,
I have,
they're in trouble.
Oh,
I was away last week, and I've been easy on you even when I was back because and I think that was my mistake.
They don't
I
like
think
it
that
that
was
way.
my mistake.
We don't get that. We
Was
don't get
actually
that.
just laying off the pedal because actually I've looked back at our Patreons, the number of people who say I finally gave because Javier's browbeating is close to 100%.
Oh no,
So
it's like they're asking.
So the rest
for
of
it.
you can thank those people for what you're about to hear. I'm sick of this. I know some of you can afford it, and that's perfectly fine. We go through this every time. It does not apply to you. But if you can afford it, and you're just sitting there at home saying like, well, I haven't heard Javier abuse me. That That's
so he
even
must
more
be
dickish
fine.
than
Maybe he
being a
forgot
plain
about
old
me.
regular dick.
Maybe Javier doesn't need the money anymore.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, we still need the freaking money. We still have a producer who has a conglomerate that he's not sharing with us.
Not with you. He keeps it at his cabin.
This is not.
Won't tell you where it is.
We don't
That
collect
tracks.
anything.
That
$0
tracks.
and
Zero.
We're
zero
negative
pennies
dollars.
for us. None. Nothing.
0.
Patreon.com/Wrong About Everything podcast, because if you can afford it and you're not doing it, you're kind of being a dick.
Stealing content.
Yeah.
Yes. Really. Seriously. What are you, an NPR listener?
Yeah, you should call Mike Bryant because you're a thief. But he won't represent you because you're a snitch.
You're probably a snitchy thief.
Snitchy thief.
No, they're
Yes.
just. Oh,
All right. Any
I don't know.
plugs?
Oh, it's a,
I don't know what that
is that a cloud?
it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be with don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Plugs. So every Tuesday, you can see Amy and me, or hear us at least, on the BS show with Bob Sansevere. You can find it wherever you find your favorite podcasts, and also in much of greater Minnesota. It is also on the radio. And I think
Yes.
that both Amy and I, Friday night at 7 o'clock, are going to be on the Almanac couch talking about all of this, but without all the swears.
I haven't responded yet to Almanac. I just got the text
I'm sorry.
while we were sitting here, so I haven't.
sorry.
I don't know yet.
Amy's like, don't you dare speak for me.
Well, I don't know.
David, check your email. I did email back.
All right.
All right.
Do you have a plug? Are you doing anything?
I do not. No, I am doing nothing.
Let's see. You could see. I did an interview
thought you were
with
being a
Fox
special.
9 yesterday. You
Special
could catch
what?
that.
Somewhere.
But we did the interview before Tom Emmer dropped out, so probably not.
gonna
I don't know if they ran whatever.
Scratch.
But then I did also. I was on Care 11 last night, kind of talking about what happened for the day. I mean, you should be watching your local news anyway. It's great, and sometimes you get to see me.
Sometimes.
I do have.
Javier has a plug.
I do have a plug.
Yay.
I will be speaking at the West Side Citizens Organization a week from Sunday, for the 50th anniversary of my neighborhood organization. It's nice. I was actually surprised because they called me a few months ago. It was like, we're trying to get the lieutenant governor, but you're a strong second choice. I'm like, that seems like a big leap. So I will try to get her. But she'll be out of town. She's in the video. But and I'm not the keynote. The keynote is Maria Isa Perez, our state rep. But West Side, a neighborhood I've lived in for 23 years, which is like apparently, I guess, the minimum number of years where you're finally a West Sider, because no one ever
23.
23, because I would have never been, like 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been invited to this thing, I think. But no, it's I'm totally excited. So the 20th anniversary event is on November 5th at Humboldt High School, which is right across from my house. So that's super exciting. So thank them for inviting me.
Hopefully Dean Phillips doesn't come and take your spot.
And maybe he'll come campaign. I'll boo him.
No.
Well, it is Halloween season. Remember
What's
that
his
big-
name recognition
Oh my
on the
God,
east
I
side
have-
of,
I have
or the west
best-
side of St. Paul?
I have the best Halloween piece of art I got at the art fair the other day at the art crawl. It says, "Boo, you whore." It's my favorite. It's my favorite
This is
thing
a
ever.
family program.
It was. Okay, Spanks and thanks. Anyone? What?
I can go.
Okay.
So my spank. So last week, I thanked a law firm that I'd never heard of that was rescinding offers of employment to college students who were being very blatantly anti-Semitic from their college organizations, who were putting letters out there saying that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict right now is solely to be blamed upon the Israelis. And quite appropriately, these firms are saying these are not the type of people that we want to have working at our firm, and they're rescinding their offers. Some people, or one person on Twitter, drug up some information about this law firm I'd never heard of, that they do jackassy things. Well, as a lawyer, I can tell you, find me a law firm that's not full of jackasses, and I'll find you someplace.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Well, Bradshaw and
Davis
Bryant
Law
and
Office.
Davis Law Office. But in any event,
Bradshaw and Bryant.
with that being said, of course, anything that these guys who I've never heard of do that is inappropriate. I don't support that. Why would I? And I also think you're trying to divert away from the anti-Semitic message by blaming the messenger there. But this week, quite similarly, my spank, or it's actually kind of a thank, my spank is to these elite colleges that are just wholeheartedly embracing the anti-Semitism from these groups, and not only is it leading to them losing employment, because hey kids, guess what? The internet is forever, and anything you do will be found by your employers, many of which, especially in law, probably have a different opinion than you on some of these political things. But also now some of these pro-Israeli, pro-Jewish people with money are not just rescinding offers, but they're taking their money and going home too. And now the article that we have here is talking about University of Penn and Harvard. All of a sudden, they're getting millions of dollars. There's billions of dollars that gets donated to these colleges, and millions of it, tens of millions of it, hundreds of millions is walking away because people are saying, I'm not going to give to an institution that does something that is so blatantly anti-Semitic. So these elite colleges that just think that everyone can say any dumbass thing they want without consequence.
Well, not conservatives.
Yeah, we can't say anything. But you're spanked, and I'm going to thank...
No, you just said pro-Israeli people with money. I think you could say anything.
I can say, I'm Brian McDaniel. I do what I want. So anyway, spank to the colleges, thank to the people who are saying, well, if you want my money, you can't be doing these things that are so outrageous, so good for them. And my thank is going to be just a little feel-good story. The Chicago Bears, this is sports ball, but the Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields, who I support as QB1, is injured. I'm not creating a controversy here. I support him as QB1. But his backup is a youngster named Tyson Bagent. And Tyson Bagent got his first start last week against the Las Vegas Raiders and won. And what's interesting about Tyson Bagent, not just because he's a rookie, not just because his dad is a 17-time world arm wrestling champion, which is pretty darn cool, but he was a 0-star recruit out of high school. He attended the 0-11 small Division II school, Shepherd University. He set the NCAA's all-time passing touchdown record with 159. He was an undrafted free agent, and this week he started for the Bears and he won. So I kind of want this just to be out there to saying, don't not do something just because somebody told you can. Dean Phillips. You can do anything.
You might win one.
You might be the president.
That you put your mind to. Dean
You
Phillips.
might be president of the United States.
So just like Tyson Bagent, he didn't quit. You shouldn't quit either. Dean Phillips.
Well, you already got the bus.
You already got the bus.
Allegedly.
Tyson Bagent doesn't have a bus. Maybe someday, but he doesn't.
Tyson
but you know what?
had the win.
If Tyson
There goes the
Bagent
Dean
wants a
Phillips
bus.
Rolling through California.
Yeah. So in any event, I want to thank Tyson Bagent.
But you still support QB1.
I still QB1, just like you guys. You support President POTUS 1. And I want to thank Tyson Bagent.
I wasn't paying attention. Is that the QB
That
we're
is him.
talking about?
Yeah, he was like undrafted. Like
He's not the Taylor Swift guy.
No.
Oh,
no.
Jesus.
I'll catch you up on that.
No, they have more than one.
He wears
football
red
player.
shirts. The Taylor
Settle
Swift
down.
position.
The Taylor
Settle
Swift
down.
guy wears
Settle
red
down.
shirts.
Yeah,
The
but
nails are pink.
But in any
Also,
event,
I don't care.
and then just as a little aside, I also want to thank everybody who survived the 1991 Halloween snowstorm,
Amen.
Because it was a major event.
It was a major event. I don't know
my
if we've
God.
talked about it
Oh,
before.
I was a freshman.
I've
in
never even
college.
heard of this.
Really?
I got snowed in for
I have a T-shirt which I forgot to bring.
3 days snowed in. We could only ride around on snowmobiles.
I was in college and they couldn't feed us.
Yeah.
We were like going because they couldn't get the food trucks and everything we didn't have power.
it was
If someone had a
many feet.
Game
And it was on
Boy,
October
we
31st,
would go,
which is so weird.
Yeah, we would go floor to floor. It was like
But anyway,
Floor to the Flies.
we don't like to talk about it.
Oh my God. It's
Minnesotans
traumatic.
don't like to mention it. It was a dark time.
But we didn't quit.
Oh, goodness, we're getting snowed in here. In the
Just like Dean Phillips.
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord. All right, Amy, you go.
Oh, okay. So my thank is for Alyssa Nacken. She is the first. She was the first woman in Major League Baseball coaching staff. She was the first woman. 18 months. She became the first woman to coach on the field during an MLB game, and now for the San Francisco Giants, she's the first woman to interview for the top Major League managerial position at the San Francisco Giants. It's been confirmed. And she's, by the way, they fired their manager, Gabe Kapler, but she and her husband, Robert Abel, are expecting their first child, a girl, in February. So I say, go, Alyssa. It's time for more women in the NFL, in the MLB, and the NHL. And she is plowing the way, and congrats on the impending baby. And you are thanked.
She didn't quit.
My spank, well, it's not really spank, it's just sad. Because I think we even talked about this, that Bobby, the world's oldest dog, was named.
I thought you were talking about Bobert.
No, so Bobby was named the world's oldest known dog.
Because he lived
31 years, 165 days. In Portugal, he spent his entire time with Lionel Costa and his family in the Portuguese village of Conqueiras. And here's the deal, too. I think maybe somebody wants to look into it because he was named the oldest dog. Guinness had to step in. Look at there. You can see he's on the picture. There's Bobby.
That is not a 31-year-old dog.
So there was a
That's just his
23-year-old.
younger picture.
No, it's amazing. He looks amazing for 31.
Yeah.
He looked amazing.
Yeah, no, this is a hoax.
No, but
Is
he
that
was named because
that's supposed to be the dog itself.
that is absolutely Bobby.
Oh, this is a lie then.
No.
This is a lie.
That is, he looks amazing.
I know
Listen,
dogs.
so there was a 23-year-old
He had work
Chihuahua.
done? What do you said? He looks amazing.
There was a 23-year-old Chihuahua named Spike who tried to was saying that he was the oldest dog in the world.
Spike
He
was
couldn't
saying.
because he was
Yes,
a dog.
Spike was saying. And then Guinness had to step in and verify and confirm that Bobby was the oldest. So I don't know where Spike was
they carbon date him?
recently, or if he
cut
went
him
to
open and counted
Portugal
the rings.
and something went down.
Yeah, if you
but
think
now,
you think he shivved Bobby?
Bobby, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I'm just wondering where
Bobby
Spike
didn't
was.
give
That's
up?
all. I'm
Did,
just asking-
did the lady that
I'm only
Bobby-
asking
Phillips.
Oh,
questions.
Yeah, that's
all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because now Spike,
'Cause now
is
Spike is.
likely the oldest dog in the world, and Bobby. Look at, I mean, just the
Was
face,
Bobby's
the
owner
eyes.
old? Is she like an older? I just worry about her.
So
Like, she
he's
had
apparently
that-
a purebred Rafeiro do Alentejo, which is a Portuguese breed of a farm and guardian dog. And so it's not a spank for Bobby, obviously.
It's a spank for Spike, maybe.
Maybe a spank for Spike, but mostly it's just sadness and it's a thank. And Bobby, such a good boy. Ooh,
Poor,
yeah.
poor Bobby.
Yep, we just want to send you off
I
with
feel
love.
bad for his owner.
If you'd like to
Oh,
make
can
a
you
donation to our Patreon in Bobby's honor,
That's right.
That's a lying dog.
For Bobby.
There's no way that dog is.
He
not
might be
31.
31.
They have
They
to,
took that
Guinness
dog- they took that picture
verified.
when he was a puppy.
Yeah, you know how people like. Have you ever
Right,
seen
they're
all the
always taking-
pictures of the Congress
Right.
people that are like, this person is 90.
Just go to Tinder or Grindr. You think people you know
Yeah.
they put on older pictures.
Yeah, that's
Like,
Bobby's
looks like you
catfish
were in
picture.
college there.
All right, I'm going to go next. My spank first is, and I don't know, I forgot to tell you, Gabe, that there's a video here. But so yesterday, understandably, reporters had lots of questions for Mike Johnson because first of all, they were like, who the hell are you? And one of them said, hey, dude. Well, here, we'll just play it. Play it, Gabe. Just kidding.
Johnson, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election results. Will you
So there's Representative Virginia Fox telling a reporter who asked a question, hey, you helped lead the efforts to overturn the 2020 election, which you did. And I'm sure the end of her question was, now you're going to be second in line to the presidency. Well, what do you think about that? And Virginia Fox, an 80-year-old representative,
She gets to say whatever.
just stood there and said, shut up, shut up. Like, what in the hell hell is wrong with these people? You're at a press conference. They're going to ask you questions.
You know how old ladies are. They'll do as they
I do
please.
know. That's why
They're
we got to get them out of
They're
there.
done. They're done.
So Virginia Fox, Republican, North Carolina, is spanked. I mean, even Boebert and what's her name, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they don't even say, boo, shut up. Like,
She says,
come on, Virginia.
She's 80.
And my thank is to former Democratic council member from Louisiana, John Delgado, who knows a lot about Mike Johnson because they were both elected in Louisiana at the same time. And he described, this was like the only known quote that anyone had about him before yesterday. He described Mike Johnson as, where
Is it
is
the owner of the auto repair store on Main Street?
No,
That'll give
he
you a good
described
deal?
him as,
No?
hold on, I got it here. It's over here. I didn't want to pay. He called him a, quote, despicable bigot of the highest order, end quote, for the anti-gay bills that Mike Johnson introduced, which never even got out of committee because only one other Republican in Louisiana would vote for them.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That is,
So
that's
only
a bad
one
bill.
other. Yeah. And so thankfully CNN is doing some reporting and churned up these editorials that Mike Johnson wrote when he talked about how not just gay marriage, but gay sex is, he was for, criminalization of gay sex. And he said gay sex will destroy, quote, the entire democratic system. And for someone who voted against certifying an election, I just say.
Again, I'm going to call it. He is
Yep.
100% having gay sex.
I know he is. Or has. Has or had.
He is right now.
Yeah.
That's
so my
bet. thank
is to his fellow Republican who said he was a despicable bigot of the highest order.
Yeah. So I am going to. So you might have heard very sad news this last weekend that a rabbi in Michigan was murdered. Rabbi Sam Wohl. There was immediate wondering, people like if this had to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In fact, there are people, right-wingers who were immediately actually tying her death to Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, she's actually a constituent of. I'm sorry, I got this wrong. She's not a rabbi. She's the board of her synagogue, but she. There was a lot of consternation around. Then Rashida Tlaib, that she's responsible for this kind of violence. Here's the problem: is that this is a very progressive person, progressive member of her congregation, and also worked a lot on Muslim-Jewish relations. Is a friend of Rashida Tlaib's. They're actually personal friends, and I'd say that the flip side of some of the examples that Zion McDaniel was giving us here is that we're living a real McCarthyist moment, right? That people are saying that saying free Palestine is anti-Semitic. That's insane. Saying free Palestine is not anti-Semitic. Believing that the Palestinian people deserve to not live in abject, horrific conditions like the way they have for decades and decades, it is not anti-Semitic. That is just as saying the two-state solution is not anti-Semitic. But we're seeing it over and over again. I've seen news of this people losing their jobs because they're expressing support for the Palestinian people, or even calling for a ceasefire. I know of people are ratting on family members of folks saying hey, do you know your kid is participating in a ceasefire demonstration? This is when we cannot, Jews, Christians, Muslim, whoever, when we cannot call for a ceasefire in a moment of war without being called anti-Semitic or without being being called anti-Israel at a minimum, that's just plain McCarthyism. That's what's actually happening. People are losing their jobs. A lot of this. I work with organizations across the country. You think it's good that people are losing their jobs for that's for being pro-Palestine?
I'm not going to argue with you during your speech, but
No,
the anti-Semitism that's being allowed right now is
gross.
It's gross, and you guys you do not see it right.
Saying free Palestine is not anti-Semitic.
That's not anti-Semitic.
Well, then
but there's a
what I
lot
just
that
said.
isn't what is
You
going
can both
on.
settle down.
That isn't what's going on.
You can both settle down because what I was talking about was that is what people are going after them for. It's for calling. It's calling for calling for ceasefire, for standing up in any way for Palestinian people, for saying free Palestine. There are people freaking out because there are kids doing a walkout in a diner that who are supporting like a Palestinian state, free Palestine. They're allowed to believe that. That's not anti-Semitic. And what is actually happening is we'll see it. We see it right here. That it's cancel culture when the left does it, but it's perfectly fine if it suits a right wing agenda.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And with that, I am Democratic strategist and the Puerto Rican heat, Javier Murillo.
I am small business attorney Davis Senseman.
I am former Republican Senate Majority Leader Amy Koch.
I am conservative strategist and still Team Tom, Brian McDaniel.
And we are
Wrong About Everything.
Take us away, Gabe.
Get snowed in. We better get moving.